Okay, so what I want to talk about today, a little bit the Pigouvian solution, which Bob treated well, and so I'll treat that briefly. He already emphasized, or at least opened the door to a discussion of how redistributive Pigouvian solutions are. And I want to emphasize as well, that solution is, because it's so redistributive, people are going to want to undermine it. And so that's what worth comparing to voluntary solutions. And I say voluntary solution, doesn't have to be a full solution, doesn't have to be perfect, but it involves people willingly participating on either side. And coast bargaining is an example. I would call it an extreme example for reasons that I'll show you. But even short of that, people have incentives to try to cooperate and communicate their costs to the people who impose them, or communicate the benefits. I will discuss a little bit about group size. It's one of the more powerful quantitative results in price theory, relates to public goods and the size of the group. So we'll use that. And of course, we'll have examples throughout, and Murphy's going to have more examples from industrial organization tomorrow morning. Okay, so I'll start with what Bob did, a negative production externality. We're going to have, like Bob did, a private marginal cost. I'm going to normalize that to 1. I forgot what letter he used for that, but I'm going to call that 1. And then the social cost is greater than that. 1 minus delta. Delta is the externality. If it's a negative externality, then that delta is a negative number, and that's the way I've drawn it here. And if individuals are acting on their own, not seeing any kind of price or any kind of direction from those who are harmed by their activity, then the outcome that we would have would be U. And that's the same analysis that Bob looked at. The efficient quantity here, same as Bob did, would account for the externality, and demand would be up to the point where the marginal value equals the social marginal cost, 1 minus delta. So those are the two quantities. And then the Pigouvian solution that Bob mentioned would be, well, let's have a tax equal to the size of the externality so that the individual doesn't see the external cost directly, but they do see the tax, and a wisely chosen tax would reflect that cost, and we could have the efficient quantity. This is the redistributive aspect to it that Bob looked at last time. The consumers are paying the whole trapezoid between the two green price lines. That's a big loss to them. The benefit to those who are harmed by their action is the right-hand square, the rectangle. And then the net of that is what Bob showed, the triangle-ish shape above the demand curve and above the marginal value curve and below the marginal social cost. But there's a lot of redistribution going on here compared to the size of the benefit. And Bob worked out some numbers for the climate case. He came up with almost 2 orders of magnitude difference between the net gain and the amount of redistribution that would come with a carbon tax. So what do we conclude from there? One is efficiency is not the same as no externality. It means we may still do this behavior. Now, it could be the marginal social cost is above the choke point, so the efficient thing is to do none of this stuff. But in a lot of cases, we're going to still do some of the stuff. So the fact that we still see the behavior that has external harms doesn't mean it's not efficient. Zero crime's not the solution. In Chicago these days, we talk about, well, it would be nice if we had less crime. Okay, but zero crime would be going too far. The magnitudes of the redistribution and net benefit are very different. That's that we just mentioned. Because of that redistribution, you should expect the Pigouvian solution to involve a lot of conflict. Because there's one group of people paying all this tax revenue, and there's other people getting pretty big benefit. And the net is something positive. That's why it's something that we recommend sometimes. But the gross flows are quite large. And so the people doing the paying, they're going to want to try to undermine this system. Maybe cheat and not pay the tax, or lobby and say, you know what, you're exaggerating what the tax is. And then the people on the other side, remember, we're not shutting down, Pigouvian tax is not shutting down the activity entirely. So the people on the other side who are harmed by this activity, they may lobby and say, oh no, you've understated the externality. We need a bigger tax. We need a bigger tax. Keep going until the thing's shut down. Because they only benefit by reducing the activity. They don't care about efficiency. They don't care what it's worth to those who are doing that. So you expect a rather polarized situation. And that's what we see. We're on climate. We see the yellow jackets in France cause a big problem. They're harmed by these policies. And they're quite upset. Yeah.
There's a tendency in economists to think, oh, social gain, you get a big one, little one, then we go to the point where there's no additional social gain. No individual looks at the world that way, right? Because you got the guys receiving the tax revenue, they're not looking at it that way. You got the guys who are reducing the externality, they don't want to stop there. They want to keep going. And you got the consumers who don't like the tax from day one, right? And they're all different people. Right? Nobody's going to agree that, hey, this is a great idea. You're just counting on some people gain more than others lose. And when the magnitude of the redistribution is huge, like Bob said, you're saying, well, one guy loses 99 and the other guy gains 100, so isn't it a great idea to pick a dollar up? And the answer is, well, one guy really wants his 100, he wants 200. And the other guy hates the 99, independent of whether the other guy gains 200 or 100, right? So it's, the idea that, oh, this is an easy thing to do is countering to it,
And we'll see, beyond the yellow jackets, we will see examples.